as the sun rose over Paris. On August 21, 1911, Vincenzo Peruggia hoisted a painting off the wall and slipped down the backstairs of the Louvre, the exit just ahead of him when he encountered a two-pronged problem. The door was locked and footsteps were approaching. Tucked under Pareja's arm was Leonardo da Vinci's Mona Lisa. It's arguably the most famous painting in the world today, but how did it get there? The portrait is thought to have begun in 1503 at the request of a Florentine businessman who wanted a portrait of his wife Lisa Gherardini. Leonardo worked on the painting for more than 10 years, but it was never completed. By the time he passed away, Leonardo conducted groundbreaking studies on human optics during his lifetime, which led him to pioneer certain artistic techniques. Some are visible in the Mona Lisa. He created images at greater distances by employing atmospheric perspective. Hazier created the illusion of profound depth with tomato, and he created subtle color gradations that softened the edges of the forms he depicted. Everything is striking. But is it enough to make the Mona Lisa the most famous painting? Many scholars regard it as an outstanding Renaissance portrait, but it is just one of many great paintings in history. Indeed, the Mona Lisa's rise to global fame was largely dependent on factors other than the canvas. After Leonardo's death, King François I of France purchased the painting and began displaying it. Then, in 1550, Giorgio Vasari, an Italian scholar, published a popular biography of Italian Renaissance artists, including Leonardo. The book was widely translated and distributed, and it included a gushing description of the Mona Lisa's hypnotic impersonation of life. The Mona Lisa became one of the most coveted pieces in the French royal collection over time. It hung in Napoleon's bedroom before being displayed publicly in the Louvre Museum. During the 1800s, visitors flocked to see the once private treasures of the deposed aristocracy. A slew of European scholars pumped up the Mona Lisa even more, becoming fixated on it. A strong emphasis on the subject's allure. Miss Neal stated in 1850 for Alfred II that Mona Lisa's smile had a treacherous attraction. Théophile Gautier wrote a year later about her mocking lips and gaze promising unknown pleasures. Walter Pater described Mona Lisa as the embodiment of timeless feminine beauty in 1869. By the 20th century, the portrait was in one of the world's most famous museums, but the Mona Lisa was not yet well known. The Peruggia's 1911 heist was contracted to make protective cases for the Louvre, which helped it skyrocket to unprecedented fame. It wasn't completely out of the question for Peru to be locked inside the museum. When a workman came across him in the stairwell, he simply assisted Peru in opening the door and letting him walk out into the morning. The robbery made international news. People flocked to see the empty spot where the Mona Lisa once hung. Pareja was interviewed by the police because he worked at the Louvre, but he was never considered a suspect. Meanwhile, they interrogated Pablo Picasso because of his connection to a previous love theft, but eventually let him go for 2 years. Pareja kept the painting in a false bottom suitcase, then smuggled it to Italy and arranged to sell it to a Florentine dealer in fine arts. Peruggia saw himself as an Italian patriot, returning an old master's work, but instead of being lauded for it, he was arrested and the mystery was solved. The Mona Lisa was reintroduced to large crowds in newspapers, and the story took a victory lap. Marcel Duchamp, a conceptual artist, mocked it in the decades that followed. Nazi art thieves went after it. Nat King Cole sang about it, and museumgoers wielding stones, paint acid, and teacups attacked it more than 500 years later, brows and eyelashes long gone. A bulletproof earthquake-safe case protects the Mona Lisa. It now stands as a testament to how we create and maintain celebrity, rather than as an example of a Renaissance portrait. The Mona Lisa was stolen once, but there's an artwork so coveted and influential that it's been hijacked more than a dozen times, including once by Nazis. This video tells a mystery-filled 6th century story.